Let me begin by saying, Prime Minister, good morning and happy birthday.
Thanks very much, lady.
Now,
Good morning.
How old are you now? 50?
52, my friend.
52.
A young-looking 52, no doubt, is what was going through your mind.
Well, seeing that you've mentioned it, I have noted that you have aged considerably in the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, a couple of people have mentioned to me they watched that documentary on Helen Clark. I have not seen it, although the producers did send me a copy of it yesterday, and apparently I look a lot younger back then.
You looked
Younger back then.
younger, considerably.
Thank you.
This, and you can see it. You can see it on the American president as well.
Yeah,
I think it goes with the game.
comes with the job.
So to business, the $30 million to Tiwai Point to Rio Tinto. Why?
Okay, so firstly, government, in some form or another, often has a form of payment to companies. So we do it through research and development, all sorts of other things. What we don't do is make effectively a payment of a subsidy, and philosophically we're opposed to doing that. I think that's the right place. That's generally where we're at. In the case of New Zealand aluminium smelters and Tiwai Point, the reason we have made an exception is because of the sheer scale of their impact on the electricity market. Now we can all sit back and say, yeah, well, tough luck, this is the way it is, let them fold. But the 15% of the electricity sector. Secondly, I suspect that they will be there for the long haul. I can't absolutely say they will be, and there are a lot of smelters being built around the world and in China and the likes. But we do have a bit of marooned power there. We have quite a lot of power being dumped on the market overnight. We have employment issues as a result of that. So there are a lot of different factors here. So in a way, we are smoothing the process, and if we're smart, we'll use the next 4 or 5 years to build a bit of infrastructure. That means we're less held hostage to it in the future.
So this extends, and tell me if I'm wrong, this extends the period where they're obliged to stay in business by only 12 months to 2017.
Yeah.
So it doesn't buy much.
No, but I mean, in effect though, essentially what's been happening with Pacific Aluminium, which is the vehicle Rio Tinto tried to set up to put all of these different, 4 smelters in Australia and the one in New Zealand in, with the view to IPOing it, selling it. The selling bit's off the table, I think, because they can't actually sell those assets. I actually think they want to stay in New Zealand, and I think they want to stay at Tiwai Point. And the reason for that is that it produces some of the most pure aluminium in the world. It's very stable power because it comes out of Manapuri, and basically got a good, relatively prior to this collapse in price, a good business there. So look, I mean, essentially, yes, it gives them a bit more time, and essentially they would have had to pay anyway for the last, next few years, even if they hadn't done this deal. But if they just said, look, we're having a review and it's over, the reality of that is that, yes, they might have had to financially pay us, or pay Meridian for some of the power they didn't use, but the impact on New Zealand would have been pretty great. And so Meridian themselves went away and had a really good look at that, and on balance decided it was better to renegotiate with Rio than hold their feet to the fire and have them walk away in a couple of years.
And the accusation that, well, there's two things I want to mention quickly. One is that the people who know more than I do about it say that the plant needs a major overhaul, a lot of money spent on it very shortly.
Can't answer that, but what because I don't know, but yeah, it's probably an older plant, but there, a lot of plants around the world are older. That's not the impression we get from basically, Rio Tinto. The impression we get is that they want to stay.
All right. The accusation that this really is what's driven this is really the floating of Meridian to bolster it.
Well, I mean, you can't win, can you? Because if we didn't do it and we didn't sort of somehow assist them, then the accusations would be we don't care about jobs and we don't care about Southland and we don't care about the fact that there'll be all this power dumped on the market or it'll be wasted. I mean, look, if the opposition, you'll argue it any way you want. I think for most New Zealanders, they would say, do we want the government basically writing out a cheque to big corporates? No. Is this a bit exceptional? Probably on balance, yes. I tell you what, if you want to look at the wish list of what they had, it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and way different from what they actually got from the government.
Yeah, well, I could, just to close that one down, I could, not Tiwai Point, but the conversation.
Yep.
I could say that that's the way that government work, way you work, way that the fishing quota, for instance, is working, with a threat to reduce it from 9 to 3. It won't be 3, but we want to get onto that later. In other words, you play a game, and they're playing the same game.
Well, look, in a lot of ways, I'd say we steered them down because I can't go into what they what we earlier offered. I'm not saying it's a million miles away from where we are now, but let's put it this way: it didn't cost us more. Secondly, Meridian, yep, they've had a deal that they've been putting back and forth to them, which actually largely sort of takes them back to the pre-negotiated contract that they had, but back to where they were in the old days before there was a spike in electricity prices broadly. So yep, everyone's given a bit, but all I can tell you is the considered view of Meridian, and the fact that this is better part of 15% of New Zealand's power probably warrants us doing something.
Right. Let me take a break, then I'll come back and talk about Fonterra, the GCSB, and then we'll hit the phones.
Sure.
It is 16 past 10, News Talk ZB.